Hi guys, I'm Ashar from Mr. Phone.
And this is Srihari from Mr. Phone.
And today what we have in our hands is actually the M20.
And the Galaxy M10.
Yeah, these devices were launched recently and I think that they are more important than the Samsung Galaxy S series which is supposed to launch.
Yes, exactly. And in this video, me and Arshad are going to give you a quick comparison of the M10 and M20 because a lot of people are confused which one to buy.
Yeah, that could be one of the confusions as well, right? Because the M10 starts at around 8,000 rupees and the M20 ends at around 13,000 rupees.
Yeah.
So you know what? Which one should you buy? Should you buy the M10? Should you actually save some money and buy the M10? Should you buy the M20? That's what we're going to let you know in this video.
So without any further ado, let's jump right in.
But before we move on, don't forget to hit that red subscribe button and the bell icon right next to it.
So that you get notified because Mr. Phone is expanding. As you can see on YouTube, we have now Hindi videos going on every week. We have app weeklies and we also have a Tamil video going every Sunday. So you can go and check out, subscribe the channel. So talking about design, the Samsung M10 and even looking at the M20, they look like basic Samsung design, what Samsung has been doing for a while. It looks like a typical Samsung phone with the Samsung branding, with the characteristic Samsung blue and also scratches easily.
That's right. So this is made entirely of polycarbonate like Shri said, and one of the things about these designs is they are not very eye-catchy, like not like a glass body or not like a metal body. This is actually entirely polycarbonate and these are functional designs. So much so that you get all the features that you need from the phone. The one thing that I like about the M20 is the fact that it comes with a USB Type-C at the bottom.
The M10 doesn't, but I don't think that makes a difference when you look at the price of the phone. So when we talk about the differences on the design part, on the outer shell, the one difference is the USB-C, as he said. The other one is the placement of the speaker.
That's right.
So the M10 has it at the back, as you can see in the close-up shot, and the M20 has it at the bottom. And the one other difference is a lack of a fingerprint scanner on the M10.
So which means that the M10 can only do facial unlock.
Yes.
So the M10 does only facial unlock. This one has a proper fingerprint scanner, and the M20 also has face unlock. What was it in your opinion?
So
How was it? Was it
the face unlock on the M10 was fine. It was of course not the fastest that I've used, but it did get my job done. I did not have to use my passcode a lot of times. I did only use the face unlock, and it worked fine for me.
That's right. Even I felt that the face unlock was fairly fast enough, but my only concern with the face unlock, I think that also extends to the M10. With the M10 and the M20, is the fact that it opens with your eyes closed.
Yes.
And also it doesn't work very fast in the dark.
Of course, the working in the dark thing is something that probably Samsung can't fix because of the limitations that the camera or the sensors give. But I think unlocking your phone with the eyes closed is something Samsung should fix very soon.
That's right. And the other problem that a lot of reviewers seem to be pointing out, and I haven't pointed out in my review because I didn't face that particular problem because I have a big hand. You know what? I'm going to do that right now with Shri. I'm going to ask him if that is a problem for him because he hasn't used the M20. What I felt was that the fingerprint scanner position was fine. I mean, but that's probably because I have a big hand and it's easier for me to reach. But and it opens up fairly fast. Not the fastest fingerprint scanner around. I can tell you that. Not the fastest fingerprint scanner around by a stretch. Let me just show Shri and let him figure out in front of you.
Okay. Yes, it is up too high. That's right. Probably not because it's way too high. The thing is that all other phones with a similar size would have a fingerprint scanner slightly on at a lower position, where
probably the logo is on the phone.
Exactly. So probably that, because as soon as I picked up the phone, I expected the fingerprint scanner to be here. Which is not the case. It's slightly higher. So yes,
so that's right. So which is what I want to tell a lot of you guys who must be wondering, okay fine, the fingerprint scanner placement is not right. It varies from reviewer to reviewer. It varies from user to user. If you have big hands, the fingerprint scanner placement is fine. If you have small hands, it could be an issue. And apart from that, I feel that it is sturdily built. That is for sure.
Yes, that is for sure. I actually carried this phone for a few days in my bag also, and it didn't scratch up then. Of course, now it's been a lot of time that it's been with me and in my drawer and in my pocket in different places. It has slightly scratched, but I am impressed that even with a glossy back, it is not as scratched as bad as I thought it would be.
Yeah. As for the rest of the stuff, I think we've spoken mostly about everything about the design. So we'll move on to the display.
Yes.
So we're coming to the display part of the review where I'm going to talk about the M20 first, and then I'll get to Shri where he'll talk about the M10. Yeah. Now, that is one of the things that will be a major point of consideration for a lot of people because the display on the M20 is a Full HD Plus panel, whereas on the M10. It is
a 720p plus panel.
720p plus panel. And now the display is one thing that is creating a lot of controversy.
Exactly. So the display...
Made in TFT. No, IPS. No, TFT is worst. IPS is best. Yo. No,
so after that Gully Boy inspired the display on the Samsung Galaxy M10 and the Samsung Galaxy M20 use TFT LCD technology.
So actually it is Samsung's own PLS TFT technology.
Yes.
And honestly, it is a really good panel, guys.
It is better than a lot of IPS LCD displays that I've seen at this price. I would prefer this over a lot of IPS displays, actually, even full HD IPS displays.
That's right. If you say that about the M10, the M20 is even better.
Exactly.
It's crisp, it's bright, it's got a decent color accuracy, the white point is great.
Just take a look. This display is amazing. Go to any place if you get an option to check
it out. Please check it out.
Whatever people we showed the M10 and M20 to, the first thing that stood out was the display.
And the best part about the display is the fact that you get wideband L1 support.
Under 10,000.
Under 10,000 for this one and slightly about 10,000 for this one. So that's just like something that is not available in this price range.
Exactly.
So you can play. What does wideband L1 support mean? You guys, most of you guys know it because that was a big problem that was there in the Poco F1. Is the fact that you can actually play HD content on streaming apps. So that's definitely
exactly. And TFT LCD displays also don't have another trait that a lot of people do hate, which is light bleed. Light bleed is something that
they do have it, but these phones don't. Like they could have it, but these are tuned really well.
The Samsung M10 and the M20 on our units, we didn't find any light bleed.
Yeah, and one of the things that we've forgotten mentioning is the fact that the display itself has a teardrop notch.
Exactly, a teardrop, water drop, whatever you call it.
Yeah, you know what? Somebody made this funny statement the other day when I was at a briefing, and they said that why would they call it teardrop notch? That's so sad. And one of the best implementations of the notch would be this one.
Probably yes.
It's
a smaller notch. We've seen that on the Realme 2 Pro.
It never interrupts the experience of using games, playing games, or watching movies.
So it's fine. Of course, I'll still love something that doesn't break my flow, but this is a great display. Display is great on both these phones.
Right.
So when you're considering buying these phones and when you're comparing them, I don't think display is one place where you'd find a lot of difference. Of course, it's 1080p. This one is 720p because of the lower price. But I don't think on the display part, you compromise a lot when you give the lower price and buy the Samsung M10.
That's right.
This is not where you compromise.
That's not where you actually compromise. That's right. Maybe the white point is slightly better, and it maybe in certain occasions it might be crisper, but that's about it. But display is not a big compromise on the M10. Exactly. Definitely not. But what I noticed about both these phones is, and I mentioned this to Sri as well, is that the bezels are extremely slim.
Yes, exactly.
And what happens because of that is that it registers ghost touches. The palm rejection is not that great, and that happened a lot when I was reviewing the phone.
It happened right now when we were trying to make a better shot.
Right. So all of that things keep happening.
That didn't happen with me.
Yeah.
Probably because this one has slightly thicker
bezels
than the M20. Very slightly. You'll only notice that when you compare the two.
Right. Oh my God. So see, it happened right. See, this is really funny. So I'm just trying to hold the phone normally, but since I have pudgy hands, so that sort of keeps happening. So
now we move on to something that our viewers will definitely like, which is the specifications.
That's right.
So the Samsung Galaxy M10 here has an Exynos 7870 processor, which is an octa-core processor. It comes with 2 or 3 gigs of RAM. Our unit has 3 gigs. And it also comes with 16 or 32 GB storage inside.
Right, that's right. So what was the performance like? I will talk about the M20 in a bit, but let's understand how the M10 performed.
Okay, this one was actually good, and I've been using a lot of budget phones now, reviewing them, and this was very comparable to the experience that I found with phones under 10,000.
Yeah, what are the options like? It's very it's easy for people to say that oh, it's slow, it's hanging, but a lot of these phones in this price range will lag if you put it through a lot of pressure. Yeah?
Exactly. I mean, it's not meant to play games. I did play PUBG on it. You can go and check out our review. There is a gameplay of PUBG there also, and it will run PUBG. It was running it on low graphics, but that's about it. It's an everyday device. It's something that you can rely on.
Yeah.
It will get your work done, but that's about it.
What are the RAM performance like? It's okay?
Yeah, the RAM performance is actually good. So that the RAM
which is what I noticed on Experience UI 9.5, if I'm not wrong.
The RAM performance on this was much better than I expected, because a lot of phones at this price do very aggressive background process killing because they have to make up for the slightly low powered processor. So they do a lot of excessive background process killing.
Right.
This one didn't. I had a lot of fun, and the RAM performance was especially good.
That's right. So coming to the M20, this one has has the new chipset, and this is the most exciting one, right? Because you get an Exynos 7904 chip, which is actually probably Samsung made this specifically for the M series and launched it for the first time on the M20. The Exynos 7904 has cores that are in the range of the 636, but the 636 and the 660 are definitely much more powerful. And it is not as powerful even when you're looking at gaming performance, because the Adreno GPU is also more powerful compared to the Mali inside this. Having said that, it defaults at medium and it plays PUBG at medium. So that's not bad at all. I mean, for a phone that is priced at around 10,990 and 12,990. So that is one of the things that you have to notice. The M20 is also almost like an everyday device. So I used it in that scenario, thinking of it from a perspective of, okay, fine, what if I buy this phone and just use it regularly for my social apps, for my YouTube studio, for my Outlook, all of those apps, and it works absolutely fine with great multitasking, no stutter, no lag. You know what, in a lot of reviews people are saying that it does slow down, but that happens only when you push it to the limit with at least more than 20 apps. And also one of the things I've noticed that is sometimes when the battery goes below 20%, there is an option to actually put it in battery power, and Samsung tells you that it's actually limiting the speed of the phone, and that's when it becomes slow, and that actually is something that I experienced on the M20.
Samsung has a lot of great battery saving modes inside this one, the ultra power saving mode, which turns everything into black and just gives you to access a few apps. That is the best. It saves, like, even if you have 10%, you can go almost half a day with that mode on.
Now coming to the battery on the phone, that is the biggest thing about the 5000 mAh battery inside this. Okay, when I reviewed the phone, I found the battery life to be great. Then the battery life dropped after an update, a security update that came in. But then again, the Samsung issued a patch which sort of improved the battery life. So the battery life has been dilly-dallying. I'm pretty sure that over a period of time, Samsung will definitely fix that. Shouldn't be much of an issue. You guys can wait for the software update for the battery to be good. But it's a 5000 mAh battery, guys. I mean, it's gonna last you 1.5 days minimum. And, and one of the things that I noticed about this battery is that it also charges pretty fast. So with the 15-watt charger, I could charge it in 2 hours 28 minutes, and with screen off, it can charge in 2 hours 10 minutes. So that's absolutely stupendous for a 5000 mAh battery. I don't think the Zenfone Max Pro M2, which has a 5000 mAh battery, can charge this fast either.
The M10 has a 3400 mAh battery, and that is one of the biggest difference between the two phones. So when you're considering buying the two phones, battery should be a big thing, not just because it's a bigger battery, also because it charges much faster.
But if you have hellbent on buying the M10 and you are worrying about battery performance, I think that as far as battery life is concerned, there should be
no. The battery life is actually quite great. So the battery life will easily take you a full day of casual use. So that shouldn't be a problem. Of course, the charging is the problem that I had with the battery. The battery life was quite fine. Of course, you'll get exceptional battery life on this. You won't get exceptional battery life on the M10, but you'll get a very good, reliable battery life.
That's right. So that's about the battery. But as for the specs, I can tell you, we both can tell you this. As for the performance of the phones,
day-to-day performance,
it's only day-to-day performance. You're not going to get some heavy gaming out of this, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, guys. Come on. So yes, now we come to the software on the Samsung, Galaxy M20 and the M10. This is a completely new experience. I mean, not entirely new, a tweaked experience with Samsung Experience UI 9.5 based on Android 8.1 Oreo. So one of the things that I want to tell right off the bat, I don't know if she shares the same sentiment or not, is the fact that we're not going to be lenient with brands that get Android Oreo phones in 2019. It is 2019, and I think Android Pie should become commonplace.
Exactly, Android Pie should have been on it. It's not. So let's move on with the Android Oreo that's on there. So the Samsung Experience UI, the one thing is that it feels very well painted all over. So all the app icons, everything, all the UI elements on the settings.
If you use the Samsung phone with Experience UI, you will feel comfortable and right at home. But one of the things that I found that was interesting was the fact that there are some elements of One UI that have actually translated into this, which like the gestures is one of the things that
gestures is something that I think both of us are using. I'm using gestures.
Yes, absolutely. I'm using gestures. Well.
So the one thing that I feel with the Samsung Experience UI is that while when it comes to comparing it with other softwares in this price range, other skins, all of them are phones in budget section, and the software is also made for them. But this is a software experience that stays the same with the Samsung Note 9 or the Samsung Galaxy S9. Of course, barring the One UI that has come recently. But this is the same experience that you get on a flagship. So that way, all the elements on it look very premium, much premium than the price tag suggests.
But there are a couple of problems with Experience UI, and we have to highlight that. Is one of the things is that the glance screen, which starts off initially, which actually brings a lot of stories, news stories, and collates information from one of the Samsung's third-party content providers. It is there on by default. Yes, you can switch it off, but that is one thing that actually sort of takes away from the experience of using stock Android, which is what we all love. But you know what, Xiaomi does that with MIUI as well, so I'm not really going to talk about Samsung for that. So Samsung also has this problem, and apart from that, this My Galaxy app keeps throwing notifications. A lot of people seem to have problems with it.
So another thing that Ershad loves a lot on the Samsung Galaxy M10 and the M20 is the theme store.
Right.
The theme
store, man, it's so good. It's so vast and varied.
He's been using high contrast.
Yeah, I've been using it, but now it's not there on. But yeah, the high contrast theme is like all dark theme.
Exactly. It turned everything in the UI into a dark mode, matte black.
And the deep contrast on the TFT panel actually serves well for that purpose.
Actually, when compared to LCD panels, I think the TFT on
slightly more contrast
better
levels.
Blacks.
Yeah, better blacks.
Other than that, the Samsung experience UI feels very polished to me.
Yeah, very polished.
And I think with that's all the thoughts that I have.
Right. So whatever issues we have with the phone actually can be taken care of by just shutting off notifications for the glance screen and My Galaxy app. But rest of it, all of it is actually pretty cool.
And we have talked in detail about it in a full review. So please go and check that out. This is simply a comparison.
So now the question here is, should you pick up the M10 over the M20 over the M10 for software experience? Absolutely not. Both are the same.
Same software experience. So now, from the software, there is one thing in the software that I wanted to talk about, but I thought why not talk about it in the next section, because it is the camera app.
Camera app, yes.
So we go to the camera section.
Let's go to the camera section.
So now talking about the cameras, the Samsung Galaxy M10 and the Samsung Galaxy M20, believe it or not, at the back have the same
I don't know if they're the same sensors, but they seem to take the same kind of pictures, at least from what we noticed. It's a 13+5 megapixel setup.
13+5 on this one too.
I don't know if they're the same sensors. I don't know if they're the same aperture. I don't know what's happening. But
they're the same aperture.
They say they're the same aperture as well. I don't know if it's the same sensor though, but it's taking the same kind of pictures. The M10 takes really good pictures. The M10, actually the camera performance from the rear camera is pretty good. What about shooting speeds? Are they fast enough?
The shooting speeds are very similar. I think the M10 is slightly slower when it comes to shooting the shutter button.
But coming to the camera performance themselves, these are not the best shooters in this price range. Okay, we are making that clear out there. We're putting it out there. These are not the best shooters in this price range, and they definitely, at least on the M20, it definitely needs at least two software updates, dedicated camera-based software updates for Samsung to actually improve them, because the sensor details are present, but there are some issues with color accuracy when you do close-up shots and stuff like that.
Exactly, and in the camera comparison that we did with the Samsung Galaxy M20, the Redmi Note 6 Pro and the Realme 2 Pro, the Redmi Note 6 Pro came first, the Realme 2 Pro came second, and you have to watch the video to know who came third. Of course, it's the Samsung Galaxy M20. But the Samsung Galaxy M20 still came third.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I did say...
Because there are only 3 phones, Shri.
Exactly. But the one thing that I did say in the camera comparison was that the Samsung M20 had much more potential than the other two phones.
That's right, but a lot of people seem to be not liking, a lot of reviewers seem to be not liking the cameras on this. I don't know if that would be a stretch. It's not that bad, honestly. Maybe the low light performance is not that great, I'll be honest about it.
The low light performance isn't that great.
Low light performance on a lot of phones are not that great, and the selfie cameras are very average.
Exactly, the selfie cameras on both these phones are not great. At this price, we've realized that at this price, a lot of brands are putting much more effort in the selfie cameras than the back cameras, because Musical.ly, TikTok, Snapchat.
Yeah, but if you want a camera specific experience, then both of these phones are probably not it.
Exactly.
Because at this price, you can also get the Mi A2 now.
A Mi A2 or a Redmi Note 6 Pro. Both of these phones are great
cameras. And even the Realme 2 Pro for that matter are great cameras.
If camera is your focus, then these phones are much better. You'll be much better off buying these phones. But there were few things.
But that is only for the M20. For the M10, the situation sort of changes.
Yes, actually for the M10 under 10,000, I think the M10 is one of the best cameras that you can find. Don't quote me on that, because we are still doing tests. And I'm actually working on a comparison so that we can find out which is the best camera under 10,000.
Right.
That said, coming to the M20, a few things, when I did the camera comparison for the M20, a few things that I noticed was when it came to the portrait mode and the quality of that bokeh and the quality of that cutout. Of course, there were places
where the agitation wasn't great, like at the bottom corner of one of the pictures, we'll actually show you that on screen, it wasn't great. But the quality of that
portrait mode shot was amazing and much better than the Redmi Note 6 Pro. And
but it looks like, and we've seen other videos that are being put up on other YouTube channels, it looks like some people might not have had a great experience with the portrait mode. So I think it's also also a hit and a miss affair.
But I think if Samsung does put out more R&D into this, gets better software updates in the camera experience,
or probably Samsung will just
better.
make it better in the next series of phones. This is probably not the phones to buy if you want great camera performance. That's for sure.
That's true.
And because there are some other features lacking as well. For example, there is no EIS in 1080p recording.
Yeah, not the M10 of course, but not even the M20.
M20 for that matter. So that could be a problem.
So finally, before ending this quick comparison, the one thing is that the speaker on this is at the back, and this is something that gave me a lot of problems.
Right.
So when I was using the M10, and of course I understand that putting the speakers at the bottom makes it very easy to cover, but when you put it at the back, it's like the easiest to cover.
The speaker on this is actually fine. It's not the best around. I mean, I don't think there are any stereo speaker phones in this price range. So I mean, it's almost as on par with a lot of other phones in this price range. So it's not that bad on the M20 for sure. But the one other thing that is really good about these two phones is they come with a headphone jack. Coming to the audio quality, there is Dolby Atmos support on this.
Yes.
That is very interesting. The fact that you get a very premium Dolby Atmos experience on the Samsung Galaxy M20 and the M10 as well, and you also get really decent performance through headphones, at least on the M20. I don't know
exactly. On the M10 also the performance is quite standard. I'm not an audiophile, so I can't attest to the fact of how good the performance is, but the one thing that I did notice, and I did put it in my review also, is the sound quality, is the sound effects panel that you get in the settings. There are a lot of settings. You can play with the Dolby Atmos, you can play with the equalizer very well, and there is also something called adapt sound. Now this is something that I put up in my review.
Yeah,
what
very
it does,
interesting.
exactly, something very interesting and something very new that I noticed. Maybe it was in
it has been there in Experience UI before, but
okay, but I noticed it for the first time. But in the adapt sound section, what it does is it can calibrate the sound according to your age. So as you start to age, your hearing starts to worsen, and it becomes more and more difficult to hear sounds at the lower volumes, and of course other lower frequencies. So what the Samsung adapt sound does is that according to your age, you can set age under 30 years, 30 to 60 years, over 60 years, and according to that, it will tune everything. So videos, music, calls, everything will tune according to your age.
They don't have anything for under 15. I'm under 15. Bad joke.
With that bad joke,
we should move on to the next segment,
which is ending.
Which is the ending,
So as we come to an end of this video, to give you an answer, let me try and put it in an interesting,
really long video. Actually, it's going to be as usual. Guilty as charged.
What I'm going to do is, Eshad, if you have the option, you have a Galaxy, you have 9,000 rupees to spare. Okay, and you of course have the option of Samsung M10 and Samsung Galaxy M20. Now, of course, with 9,000, you can easily get a Samsung Galaxy M10 with 3GB RAM.
That's right.
And the Samsung Galaxy M20 is something that you can't afford right now. It's not in your budget. But if you try and save up some money, you could get the 11,000.
Maybe wait a little bit more.
Exactly. You could get a 11,000 rupee version and get 3 gigs of RAM of the Samsung Galaxy M20. So which one would you go for? Would you buy the M10 right away, or would you wait, save some money and get the M20?
So if this were for somebody like a school-going, college-going student, or for someone like a mom, I think for someone who doesn't play a lot of games, I think college-going students do play a lot of games, they would have to pick the M20 over the M10. One, primarily because you get better battery life, and two, because you get better performance. And for someone like my mom or my aunt or my uncle who's looking at the Samsung brand value, for them the M10 makes absolute sense. I mean, it shouldn't be a problem.
Exactly. So with that, we come to an end of this video. If you have any feedback to give us, anything, please let us know in the comment section below.
And do let us know if you've bought the M10 or the M20, and if you're a happy user.
Yeah, we'll put all the links in the description below, all the buying links.
Right.
If you are going to buy a Samsung phone, please do that through the links below. It helps the channel.
Yeah.
Also, all the links to our reviews and comparison will also be in the description. So go ahead and check that. And also check out the Mr. Phone channel for more such interesting videos.
I hope you guys like that content.
That's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. This is Sri Hari from Mr. Phone.
I'm Eshar from Mr. Phone.
And we'll catch you in the next one.
Ta-ta.